All right, guys. Welcome to another session of the class. This is Design Secrets with Dari, and basically, what we've been talking about. If you check the last video, what we've been talking about is the the design introduction to design, and throughout this class, what we are going to be talking about is how we can make our design better. Yeah, so if you check the last video, we get to introduce ourselves to what is graphic design, what is not graphic design, and we talked about the niches in graphic design, your how you can, you know, how you can become better with sorry, your niche in graphic design. Yeah, your niche, like what type of graphic design suits you well, you know. So, and in today's video, I said it yesterday that we'll begin to go practical, we'll begin to go practical with some of these things. So in today's video, we'll be talking about the principle of design. And initially I said that we're going to be talking about two principles today, which is the principle of balance and the principle of alignment. But I think I'm going to be dividing this because I would like to um, define what the principle of design is before we now move into the principle of balance. So this video is just going to be covering the principle the principle of balance. So without wasting too much of our time, what is the principle of design? When you talk about um, design generally, or let me say generally, everything in this world has principles. There are elements of things. Some elements are also referred to as ingredients. Like when I talked yesterday, when we were in the class yesterday, we talked about the ingredients of making jollof rice. And let me just give another example. There are ingredients for making food. You can call those ingredients the elements of making food. There are ingredients of making a furniture. Can you call that ingredient? You can call it elements or things you bring together to make a furniture. Those are elements. We are going to be talking about the elements of design also. But there is something we call of the principle of things. So it is one thing to have the ingredients. It is another thing to know how to use those ingredients. So the how we use these ingredients are what we call the principle. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the how we use the elements of design, so that when we both have the same ingredient, how can you make use of those ingredients to make better design than me? So the basically, um the reason why most professionals um are better than most amateur is because they understand these principles, you know. So they understand how to use this principle, and they make use of it too well, such that you are coming up or amateur, if you have the same element with them, there is a way they would use it that is going to, even you are going to be jealous. You will think they have more resource than you do. So the principles of design, and these principles, they are many. There are many principles, but as I have said in our last video, that we are going to be talking about just five of these principles in this course. Maybe in a professional class or in a more pro class, we'll be talking about more. And exactly, so if you want more of these principles, there is a course that I have on the introduction to graphic design. There's a course, it's very cheap. You can you can get the course. I'll be dropping the the link to the course in this in the description of this video. So it is not very expensive. In fact, it is, I made it so cheap for everyone. I'm just making this video the class is just a live class on how these things work, you know. So but if you want more of these principles, you can get my course, or you can sign up for bigger personal class or professional classes. However, in this video, I'm going to be in this class I'm going to be talking about the 5 main principles that we use in our daily activities. As all designer we use this, yeah, all designers we use this. So, and what is the first principle? We have the 5 principles, rather we have 5 principles, and they are the principle of balance, the principle of alignment, the principle of contrast, the principle of hierarchy, and the principle of white space. So we are going to be talking about them one after the other. So in this video we'll be talking about balance. So balance, alignment, contrast, hierarchy, and white space. These are the major principles that you have to put in place in every of your design. Every of your design. The other principles you can do away with some. You can do away with a lot of other principles. But the principle of balance, the principle of alignment, contrast, hierarchy, and white space, it is inevitable. You can't do without it. You cannot do without these 5 major principles. So if we look at this, we have I have made a visual representation of all of this. So we have the principle of balance, the principle of balance here. So this is an example of balance. So the principle of balance is just making sure that though we'll still be talking about them, intensively, but the principle of balance is just you making sure that your design is visually appealing and is visually okay, you know. So it's visually balanced, something like that. Anyways, so we say I say that I say most time that you see balance is you making your design stable. That's basically it. The principle of balance is just you making sure that your design is stable, making sure that when viewer look at it, it's there is no tool that is used in measuring balance. It's just in the it's just a psychology thing, where user looks at your design and they be like, okay, this is awesome, you know. So the principle of balance is just you making sure that your design, the elements of your design are stable. So then the other one, we say we have the principle of alignment. Now, to put it simple, I'll be talking about alignment in our next class. To put it simple, you see the principle of alignment is you making sure that the elements of your designs are positioned on the same, like they are positioned rightly on the same axis. Is for, I will come again, it's a situation, or it's a situation of a design where you position the elements of your design on the same axis. Now there are 3 type of alignment. We'll be talking about that. I don't want to dwell too much on that. We have the left alignment, we have the center alignment, and we have the right alignment, as you can see in this visual representation. We have the left, where everything is aligned to the left. We have the center, where everything is aligned to the center, and we have the right, where everything is aligned to the right. So that is about alignment. Then we have another principle that I just talked about. We have the principle of contrast. Contrast, when we get to contrast, you guys will understand what design is majorly, like what we've been talking about very well. When we get to contrast, contrast is awesome. I love the term contrast because when I started, I I did not have the opportunity to do design, to understand contrast on time. It was almost too late for me. Yeah. So uh but when I began to understand contrast and how contrast works, my design changed. So basically, contrast is you making sure that the elements of your design stand out from each other. That's the simple arithmetic when it comes to contrast. Making sure that the elements on your design, or the elements of your design, stand out from each other. So it means uh you have to make sure that whatever you have and you want to make whatever is on your design, whatever things you put together on your design, can be seen differently. They can stand out from each other. So it's just like you cooking a food, and the person that is telling you to cook is telling you, can you make it such a way that I can taste everything differently in the same food, you know. So for example, you're making a pineapple juice. Maybe you want to make a pineapple, the mixture of a pineapple, orange, and what's it called, apple juice. So it's just you making sure that all of these fruits can be tasted differently. Like you're tasting the same, you're taking the same drink, but you're tasting everything differently. So that is what contrast is in design. We'll be talking about them very well later on. And the next one, we have the principle of hierarchy. Hierarchy. You see, there's something called hierarchy in our day-to-day activities. Hierarchy, everybody knows that hierarchy is just, when we talk about the hierarchy of human, we know that the king are the head of the, we have the king, we have the chiefs, we have the subordinate, then we have, the way hierarchy is in the same hierarchy. We have the presidency, we have the governors, we have local government chairmans, we have people around, commissioners and all. So you see, uh hierarchy is you making, or emphasizing things that are important, and de-emphasizing things that are less important. Though everything on your design is still communicating the same message, but you making sure that one of them is is getting more emphasis, is what we call hierarchy. So for example, in this image, you will realize that this big fish is bigger in comparison to this small guy. And that's because in real life this fish will swallow this man. So if we make them equal, is rubbish, because a man cannot be equal to a whale. You understand? So just as we have hierarchy in our day-to-day lives, that's the same way we have hierarchy in design. We'll talk about that extensively when we get there. And the last one, we have white space, that we are going to, not the last principle, I repeat, this is not the last principle of design, but the last one we are going to be talking about in this beginners class. Okay, in this beginners class. So the next one we're going to be talking about is white space. And what is white space? I call it breathing space. That's white space for you. Breathing space. What is breathing space? What is white space? What's all this English? You see, uh, imagine you are in your room and you have, how will I put it? You have a lot of loads in your room. You have a lot of loads in your room, and there is no space for you to pass, to make anything work. Let's say you are a fashion designer and you have your machine, your sewing machine somewhere, your pots are somewhere. You live in a room apartment, your pots are somewhere, your books are somewhere, especially if you are a student, your books are somewhere. Everywhere, everything is just scattered on the floor. In fact, don't let me lie to you, even if the room is not smelling, you start smelling things. That's the normal this thing for you. Even if the room has no smell, you start smelling things. That's when people say this room is stuffy and this room is rough, this is this is that. So normally, if you want people to feel awesome, people to feel welcome in your home, there is a way you will clear everywhere. You will just put things, you put them, hide them, put them where they are supposed to be. Put books, you stack book or on other books. So let's say the books are just sitting around, you begin to stack books on other books, and if you have some carton, you stack those books, you put them on carton, and you just create room. You see that room that you are creating in your room, or that space rather that you are creating in your room, is what we call white space in design. It's called breathing space. In design, we call it white space. So white space is the amount of space that is left for your design, is left in order for your design to make the user want to read it. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't let me rush you guys. Just know that white space, you use white space in your design. White space is the amount of space that is around your major design. But in today's class, we are going to be talking about the principle of balance. So don't go anywhere. Just stay with me. Just stay with me. So what is balance? Yeah. How do I put this? So balance can be defined as the distribution of visual elements in order to make a design feel stable. So then these visual elements, they can either be shapes or colors or texture or even text. So you distributing your elements in order for your design to feel stable, to feel aesthetically pleasing to look. So we'll be looking at some examples. However, I just want us to get the definition right first. So, and when we talk about balance, there are different type of balance that we have. We have the symmetrical balance, we have the asymmetrical balance, and again we have majorly 5, but let me just give you guys 3. 3 should be enough for this class. We have the symmetrical balance, we have the asymmetrical balance, and the last one we are going to be talking about is the radial balance. I initially don't want to talk about it because I don't want to go ahead of myself, or I don't want to push, or I don't want to drag you guys ahead of myself, or ahead of yourself rather. So, but later on, I just realized that there's no point. You guys need to know this, So what is symmetrical balance? You see, the moment an element is mirrored, whether vertically, horizontally, or diagonally, that is symmetrical balance. It's as simple as that. Definition is the most simplest definition of symmetrical balance. The moment a design element is mirrored vertically or horizontally or diagonally, that is a symmetrical balance. Now, if you look at this balance that we have here, you would realize immediately that this is not symmetrical balance. It is in no way a symmetrical balance, because if we break our divider, our line divider here, and we look at, let's say we drop it in the middle, you will realize that this is not mirrored. It is not mirrored vertically, it is not mirrored horizontally, neither is this thing mirrored diagonally. So this is not a symmetrical balance. Now, symmetrical balance is the distribution of elements of your design, like distribution of equal elements on your design. Distribution of equal elements on your design such that there are equal or similar elements on each side of your design. So let's just put it simple: the distribution of elements on your design such that there are equal or similar elements on each side of your design. So we can say that symmetrical balance are when you mirror an object vertically, we've said that, horizontally or diagonally. So, and we say that vertical, now what is vertical symmetrical distance? This is when you mirror your element vertically. So which means whatever is up is the same thing that is going to be down, because that's vertical distance. Whatever is up is going to be the same thing that is down. Then horizontal is left and right. Just get this straight: vertical up and down, horizontal left and right. So vertical symmetrical balance is when you have the same thing on top, you have the same thing on top, you have it as what is on the bottom. Then horizontal is when you have an element on the left, you have the same element on the right. And diagonal symmetrical balance is when the element when you divide the element on your canvas diagonally, whatever is on the top left is going to be the same thing on the bottom right. So that is symmetrical balance. So how do we achieve symmetrical balance? I've said it earlier. We achieve symmetrical balance basically by mirroring our objects, mirroring our elements. So example of symmetrical balance, we have different example. Now the first example I would like to show us is the example of a building, the picture, our day-to-day this thing. So we most of us have seen mosques, we've seen this ancient building, we've seen palaces. Most of all these places, castles, most of them are built symmetrically. They are designed symmetrically such that whatever element you have on the left is going to be the same element that you have on the right. So if you look at this is an example of a symmetrical balance, but the symmetry this time is an example of an horizontal symmetrical balance. Horizontal such that whatever you have on the left is the same thing that you would have on the right. So I don't know, I believe you are beginning to understand it right now, even with this example. So symmetrical balance is when object is mirrored such that whatever is on the left is equal to what is on the right. And this is an example of a picture that is symmetrically balanced. What of design? We've seen it in picture. What about design? Now, in logos, there are some logos that are also symmetrically balanced. For example, if we look at the McDonald's logo, you would realize that whatever is what the same element you have on the left is the same element you have on the right. So if we divide this into two, you would realize that whatever is here from this divider line down here is the same thing you will find from this divider line down here. So symmetrical balance is just you mirroring your object. I've said it earlier. So then we have another example of a logo which is also horizontally symmetrical, which is the logo of Starbucks, the Starbucks logo. You realize also that this logo is symmetrically balanced. Why? Because once you place your divider in it, whatever is on the left is the same thing as what you find on the right. You understand? So these are example of symmetrical balance. Okay, this is logo. What about flyer? Is there a way that there are some flyers that are symmetrically balanced? How do we recognize a symmetrically balanced flyer? There are flyers also everywhere that are symmetrically balanced, and you can create your own too. For example, if you look at this flyer done by these ketchup guys, you would realize that this flyer is 100% symmetrically balanced, and the symmetry is horizontal symmetry. So if you look at this, let's divide this into two, you realize that whatever you find from this, I don't know if you can see the red line well, whatever you find on this the left hand side is the same thing that you find on the right hand side. Even though some of the text might be different, but the elements, basically the elements are the same. Whatever element is here is the same as what you have here. Then we have another example of an horizontally balanced, horizontal symmetrical balance, which is what we have here. Horizontal symmetrical balance is what we have here on this design. Even though this design may need some retouching, you would realize that if dividing this part, you would realize that whatever you find here is the same thing as what you find here. The text are also divided into two. So another example of a symmetrical balance, not asymmetrical, a symmetrical, a and space then symmetrical, don't mind my language, is what we have here. If we divide this into two equal parts, this is a design done by Oreos. So if you divide this into two equal parts, you realize that what is on the left is the same thing as what is on the right. I don't know if you guys are getting it now. You should be getting or your understanding about the symmetrical balance, this thing should be increasing. So then we also have let's say a movie poster of a symmetrical balance. So a symmetrical balance design, if you look at this, you will realize that this is no more a vertical, this is not just a vertically how will I put it, it is no more an horizontal symmetrical balance. We now have a vertical symmetrical balance here. So because most of what we have here, you have some of them also here. It's just that some of the texts are different, but a good example of a vertical symmetrical balance is what we have here. And also we have a diagonal symmetrical balance as what we have here. If you divide this up like this, you realize we have some space here and we have some space here. Let's see if we can get a line to divide this into this for us. Let's just divide this diagonally. uh, if we divide this diagonally, you realize that most of the elements you have here on the left is the same thing as what you have on the right. So that is that about symmetrical balance. That is that about symmetrical balance. Next, we'll be moving into the asymmetrical balance. Quickly, what is asymmetrical balance? Now, we said in symmetrical balance that symmetrical balance are when objects are equally distributed. The same element that is on one side uh, of your design is the same element that is going to be on the other side of your design. So does it now mean that all these flyers that we've been seeing everywhere, like book cover, landing pages, are they not balanced? Of course they are. They are visually appealing and they are equally they feel stable. However, they are not mirrored. So it basically means that asymmetrical balance are the type of balance that are not based on elements being mirrored. Yeah, let's put it like that. Asymmetrical balance are the type of balance that are not based on the elements being mirrored. I wrote here, I said the main purpose of a balance is to give a sense of visual stability, and this can be achieved in different ways. Is either using mirror or by distribution of different weights in the design to make the design feel stable. So if we can say symmetrical balance is distributing the same weight, while asymmetrical balance is distribution of different weights. Asymmetrical balance is the distribution of different weights, and at the same time it still gives us that stability feeling in our design. So the word asymmetrical can mean non-equal, not equal, or I said not mirrorly equal. So it is a situation when you know your design looks great, however it is not due to the fact that the elements are equal on each side of your design. Now, asymmetrical balance can be achieved by some other principle of design, such as the principle of contrast and hierarchy. So sometimes I will talk about hierarchy when we get to hierarchy and we get to other part of this thing. You will look back and you will begin to understand this balance well, especially asymmetrical balance. But you should understand that asymmetrical balance are mostly used on some logos have asymmetrical balance, and most of our modern houses today too, they are asymmetrically balanced, and there are also some flyers, or most flyer are asymmetrically balanced. And if you check landing pages of websites, majorly 90% of our landing pages are asymmetrically balanced. I'll give us example, and if we look at this example, it's down here. Let's just take a look. Now this is a perfect example of a balanced design, but it is not symmetrically balanced. It is balanced due to the fact that the weights are distributed, the way the weights of each element are distributed is making this design look balanced. So if we look at this right here, let's say we divide this into two, you'd realize that there are some elements you will find here that you would not find here. and there are some elements you find here that you would not find here. So for example, let's look at this. We can find some of this top here. However, you would not find some of this bottom right here. So is them distributing the visual element differently, but at the same time they are balancing each other. So asymmetrical balance, I've explained several times. You may want to hear it again. They are the distribution of elements in your design that makes your design feel balance. I said balance again. That makes your design feel stable, but not based on the fact that they are mirrored. So an example of asymmetrically balanced logo is the popular one is the Nike logo. Now there is nothing that is symmetrically balanced in this Nike logo. There is nothing equal, whether you divide it by half or you divide it by half vertically or horizontally. Whichever way you divide it, even if it's diagonally, whichever way you divide it, it is not still balanced. However, the distribution of the weight of the left and the right makes it feel balanced. I don't know if you get me. So this is an example of asymmetrically balanced logo. Then the next one, we have the Pepsi logo. So we don't just use Nike logo and you guys be like, what else? I just want you guys to understand that the concept of asymmetrical balanced design. So if you look at this, the logo is balanced anyways, but it is not due to the fact that it is mirrored. It is not due to the fact that it is mirrored. However, the logo looks awesome and it looks balanced because each element are distributed, the weight of each element rather are distributed differently, making everything still look balanced on the canvas. So then we have an example of a flyer, design that is asymmetrically balanced. In fact, most flyers are asymmetrically balanced. So example, we have this big guy right here, such that if you divide this big guy into two, we have a part here. We have a part here that has a very big box. Now this box is just sitting right here on the left hand, on the left, while we have another part here. We have another part here that is just about text. This design feel balanced. Why? Because the same element, if you look at it, is not equal, right? But the same element you have here is the same size of element that you have here. However, one element is looking massive, that is taking up to, like, imagine we have like three this thing for the other, like 1 2 3 4 5 is the same thing as one of this, and that is why this one looks balanced. Another example of a flyer is what we have here. Now this over here, we have this side taking up pictures and shapes. We have this side taking up pictures and shapes, while the other part is taking up just text, and this already makes this design look balanced. You understand? So it's making the design look stable because one part is awesomely taking what it's supposed to take, and the other part is not also disturbing, it's taking what it is supposed to take. So then another example is what this is a landing page where one part is taking text as usual and the other part is taking the image as usual. You understand? This is the concept of asymmetrical balance. It is a concept whereby the design looks stable, it looks aesthetically pleasing to everybody to look at, but if you look at it very well, it is not based on the fact that it is equally or similarly distributed. So the next one we are going to talk about before we call it before we end the class today is what I call the radial balance. We are not going to be talking about the radial balance too much, but I want you guys to just understand something about the radial balance. You see, the radial balance sometimes can be, you can want to take it to misconcept it for the symmetrical balance, because if you look at this, we have one side, the same thing that is here is the same thing that is here now. Is that not what we said about symmetrical balance? Yes, that is what we said about symmetrical balance. And but if you look at this again, you realize that every element are distributed both vertically and horizontally and diagonally. They are all equal. So as long as there is a focus point on your design and every element are distributed with this equal distance, every element are distributed with equal distance to your focus point, then you have a radial balance. It is not necessary that there must be this focus point. Let's hide this focus point. You may not even see it. That's you may not see it most time. You may not see it, but you would have a feeling immediately. You would have a feeling of it being there. That's it. That's something crazy about this design of a thing. It may not be there physically, but you would have a feeling that these guys are pointing to a center. So as long as these guys are equally, like the distance to the focus point is equally distributed, then you have a radial balance. So I wrote here, I said radial balance is the positioning of your design to gravitate around a focus point. In this type of balance, you are placing elements on your design in equal distance from the center, creating visual equal design or visually stable design. Let's put it like that, visually stable design. Then I said sometimes this can be seen as symmetrical balance. However, the difference between symmetrical balance, as I have said earlier, the difference between symmetrical and radial balance is the fact that with radial balance there is a focus point or a center. Now, a perfect example in our day-to-day of logo is the Walmart logo and the Target logo. Now, if you look at this well, you realize that the focal point is not there. Now, however, you would have the feeling that there is a focus point here. There's a focus point here, and everything is pointing to a focus point. Everything is pointing to a focus point, which is giving us the feeling of it being radially balanced. Do you understand? This is example of a radial balance design. This is not there for Walmart, but we can actually just remove it to give Walmart back their logo. So then another example is Target. You realize that even though it seems that there is no breaking, if you look at this, if we should join all of this together, we still have the same thing as this guy. If we join all of this, we just join all the lines together, we have, and if we put a breaking line into all of this, we have something similar to this. So it's just you gravitating towards a focal point, like you are gravitating your element towards a focal point, and the distance has to be equal. Now in our day-to-day pictures, we have a perfect example of flowers. Most flowers are radial balanced in nature. Most flowers, because every of the petals, and what's the name of all these things, I think it's only petals I took from secondary school, they are they are radially balanced towards the whatever it's called. I don't know. Let me know the name in the comment section. I don't know. So then for flyer, when you talk about radial balance, most time we use it in infographics. We use radial balance in infographics when you want to give information on how something works, or maybe you want to do a vicious circle of how things are supposed to move around. You use mostly radial balance. And that is going to wrap it up for our class today. So so one thing I want you guys to do is understand the concept of balance in its entirety. If you don't understand it, you can go over this video again and again. And if you have any question, you can drop it on the WhatsApp group. We all have a WhatsApp group. If you actually register for this course, we all have a WhatsApp group. Just drop it on the WhatsApp group, your question, so that whenever we have our live class, I can answer it, or in the next video I can answer it. The reason why I'm making a video and I'm dropping it, everybody knows, is because the network provider has been giving us issues these days, and I can't take it anymore. I honestly can't take it anymore. So, and I don't want it to look as if I would be making excuses because of those guys. That's why I'm making a video to drop it for you guys. So don't hesitate to like, the normal YouTuber things. Don't hesitate to like, follow, and what do they say again? Share and subscribe. If this is a free stuff, and one of the way you can support my life is to do all of this. So if you enjoyed this class, comment below, and if you want me to talk about something else, comment it below. Then the next class is going to be tomorrow. And what we are going to be talking about is the principle of contrast. We're going to be talking about the principle of contrast. However, your assignment, if you registered for the course, you'll be dropping your assignment on the group, WhatsApp group. Or if you just want to follow through, you did not register, or you are getting this late, you can drop the assignment in the comment section. So the assignment is going to be to create a logo that is symmetrically balanced using your name. Now, for example, my own name is Dare Oloye. So using your name, create a logo that is symmetrically balanced. And also, using that same logo, create a flyer for yourself. Whatever you want to sell, I don't know, whatever you're selling, create a flyer for yourself using the asymmetrically balanced principle that we've talked about. You don't need your design to be fancy. That's not what I am after at this point. In fact, at this point, we've not dealt we've not dwell into design so much that your design has to be fancy. Just create that logo, that this assignment, and tomorrow I would see you. All right, take care guys, and have a good one. Bye.